Hey everyone, the new film, The Housemaid, starring Amanda Seyfried, Sydney Sweeney, and Brendan Sklenar, is an unexpected and surprisingly intimate domestic thriller that really gets turned inside out and upside down in some really strange ways. This is one of those films that definitely has a specific audience in mind, and I think they all showed up at my theater when I saw it. I'll tell you about that at the end of this video. All right, so I've heard a few people compare The Housemaid to Single White Female or loosely to Fatal Attraction. And I think those are both kind of fair comparisons for different reasons. I'd also add in Deep Water as a more recent comparison with, this close, tight three-person story like this, which kind of has that third person acting as a destabilizing character who's brought into this seemingly picture perfect marriage. The Housemaid is not a fast paced, twisty, turny thriller, but it does have a lot of twists and turns. It is a slow, character driven psychological drama that builds tension through discomfort, power shifts, and these changing tensions that kind of sit just below the surface of the story, but are kind of hinted at with what people choose to say or not say out loud. The story follows Millie, this 20 something woman who desperately needs to find a stable job and a place to live. When she lands this live in job as a housemaid and nanny for this wealthy, beautiful couple, it really feels like she has hit the jackpot. The job pays well and it provides housing and it gives her a real chance to stay afloat and rebuild her life. That sense of stability lasts for about a hot 5 minutes, maybe six, but then cracks begin to show. Millie's new employer, Nina, starts behaving in these increasingly odd and unpredictable ways. What initially looks like this dream job slowly becomes a source of anxiety and distress. But Millie has literally nowhere else to go, so she kind of puts up with it. And that's where this film really takes off, and nothing is quite what it seems. Watching The Housemaid feels uncomfortable in a really intentional way. The tensions come from unstable social dynamics, from these shifting power dynamics as well, and this constant sense that something isn't quite right, even when nothing overtly bad is happening yet. On the surface, The Housemaid looks like a movie we've seen like a million times. The setup just feels uber familiar and predictable right from the start. You've got the handsome husband, you've got the pretty but troubled housewife, and the gorgeous live in housemaid as a disruptive third party for this idyllic setting. I mean, come on, man. What do you think is going to happen with Sydney Sweeney walking around in her pajamas? I'm just saying. That said, what makes this film work is that it really seems to understand what it is doing and exactly how much it needs to lean into that setup to take advantage of our expectations. It's not long before you realize there is way more going on beneath the surface and that every character has these deeper layers that the film slowly starts to peel back with each new conflict and each new twist. Millie realizes that this dream job that she landed isn't so dreamy after all. But she's also desperate and aware that this job is a lifeline for her. The film earns a lot of credibility by giving her a realistic reason to stay put and try to make it work rather than just leaving immediately, because in most cases, people would just pick up and go. The first third of the film pulls us in, lulling us into our expectations of what will inevitably happen. The second third of this film really starts to feel like things are unfolding exactly as we expected. We get those like, aha, I knew that's how it was going to be. And there are moments where that predictability can be kind of frustrating, except that there are just enough twists to keep surprising us. Then things subtly start changing once we get past that two-thirds mark. That's when you really need to start paying attention. The story starts using your expectations against you. It begins connecting its edges, twisting what you thought you understood, and delivering these reveals that may not completely shock you, but still feel earned and unsettling. When those pieces start falling into place, it gets really hard to look away. And there are a few scenes in particular that you'll know what I'm talking about. And that's one of the film's greatest strengths. It knows how to play with its audience. Even when you think you know where it's headed, the execution of the film keeps you locked in and waiting to see if you were right. The Housemaid is a small, intimate film. Ultimately, it's a film like this that's going to live or die on the performances of its main characters. What makes the story work is how clearly it sets up the complications between Millie, Nina, and Andrew. Sydney Sweeney plays Millie. She is a smart girl who has led a fairly sheltered life because of certain things in her past. And yes, I am totally being intentionally vague here because I don't want to spoil you. The result is that she makes some truly astronomically bad decisions that are so frustrating to watch that I wanted to throw my notebook at the screen. Because who would do these things? Except a lot of people actually do. But in any case, it's that naive edge to her that makes her insanely stupid decision making feel believable. There are a few moments where it starts to feel just like a step too far, but then those decisions need to be made. They need to move the story forward, and they're essential for pushing us into that climax. And once that happens, this film is like a freight train coming home. Amanda Seyfried plays Nina, the wife of the wealthy tech executive and Millie's employer. And while all the actors did a great job in this film, I gotta say, Amanda Seyfried, she sold this movie for me. I completely bought into her character and the constant ups and downs that she brought to the story. Those shifting expectations from her really created the instability that pushed all of the characters into these really uncomfortable moments that always felt believable. So, as wild as some of these things get, it's really because of, I think, Amanda Seyfried that the film actually kind of keeps on that realistic track. Then there's Andrew, played by Brendan Sklenar. He's almost aggressively perfectly beautiful and sculpted from clay and turned into flesh by the blood of Zeus himself. I just don't even know how this guy exists. But there he is on screen, and he's making everybody's lives complicated, let's just say, or at least that's how it seems. He's charming, he's handsome, he's thoughtful, and effortlessly likable. He's the kind of guy who Millie is completely unprepared for. And you know what? He is completely unprepared for her, too. That's exactly what makes the twist work in this film. They play off of each other so well, especially in the end. As much as I like the film, there are a few things that just didn't work for me. One is Millie's backstory, which I don't want to get into because of the spoilers, but I think it would have been good just to give a little more context, a little more time to position her as kind of this somewhat a homeless person, jobless person who will take anything because she needs it so badly. Like, how did she get there? How does that play into her naivete? And, what's with the absence of people in her life? Like, some of that should have been played up just a little bit more so that we could see her as a more rounded whole person. The other major issue is the runtime. This film did not need to be over 2 hours long. It lingers in moments that could have been trimmed without losing any impact on the story. It would have been really easy to cut like 15 minutes, maybe even 30, in order to tighten the pacing. The story itself, though, is strong, but there are a few points when the extra time works against it. Okay, so here's a little side story for you. I live in a very small town. It's a very rich town right outside of Boston. And that doesn't mean I'm rich. I'm more like the Millie in this story. In any case, in my screening of The Housemaid, my local theater was packed with these affluent blonde women who looked a whole lot like the housewives in this film. It was kind of hilarious. While I really liked the film, it left me feeling a little shaken. Like there was just this level of discomfort at the end of the film that I couldn't get away from. But as the movie ended and the credits rolled, all of the other women in the theater, and there was a ton of them, they were laughing and talking and clearly energized by what they'd just seen. It made me think about the fact that this movie, it totally resonated for them on a completely different level, in a completely different way than it did for me. And that's something to keep in mind when you are trying to figure out if this is a film for you. So I'm actually kind of curious about that dynamic if you did see the film. I'd love to know what parts and which characters resonated most for you. I think this film is going to resonate the most with viewers to some degree who enjoy movies about power dynamics and character relationships that are kind of a little not quite what you think they're going to be. And I really wanted to talk about Andrew, about Brendan Sklenar's character, because this movie has a really interesting male perspective, but to talk too much about it here would be to give you spoilers. His relationship with his mother and the things that kind of shaped him as a character, those are the things that I would love to chat about because these are things we don't see a lot of in movies. And I found it so fascinating that this really interesting, dynamic, layered, I don't know, add all the different descriptors you want onto that was in this movie that kind of felt like it was sold as a chick flick. And it's definitely not a chick flick. So let me know what you thought of Andrew in the notes. I really would love to chat about that. So is the housemaid ticket worthy? Well, it's got a really smart script and all the actors do a really good job of selling their characters. So, yeah, I mean, it's worth the money. It's a good script. It's a good film. It's well made. If you are into dramatic family thrillers, I think that the price of the ticket is worth it. There is some violence that feels very intimate, and domestic abuse is a little bit a part of this film. So, if those themes sound kind of uncomfortable for you or triggering, you might want to just skip this movie in the theaters, catch it on streaming, or just pass. But truly, if you enjoy suspense, character driven dramas, and films that really play with your expectations, there is a lot here to appreciate. I'd love to hear from you. And if you've seen The Housemaid, I want to know what you thought of it. Did it work for you? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Please do give this review a thumbs up and subscribe. And while you're here, why not check out one of these new reviews? And I will see you all again later. Till then, happy viewing. Bye.